always easy.
All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and take down my mask. Thank you very much for being here today. This is a special engagement. We are celebrating the reopening of small businesses and restaurants. It's a very exciting time after a couple months of dealing with stay-at-home orders. And so first up, I'd like to welcome a very warm introduction to Grant Kruger for hosting us today. Come on up, Grant. So Grant, we're going to keep our distance a little bit, so we're going to acknowledge the mask here. Are you comfortable with that?
Most certainly.
All right. So I've got a couple questions. One is, how has COVID impacted your business, and what do you see as the successes going forward in encouraging people to come back out and building trust in going back out into public again?
Thank you so much for coming out here. Obviously, COVID has affected our business and many small businesses here, and not just Southern Arizona, but across the country. The hospitality business here has been one of the most affected sectors, quite frankly, in all of the COVID crisis, because we were on the front lines of getting pretty much immediately shut down. And so there were some pretty dark periods, I think, there for us, Brendan. In early April, for sure, we were quite worried when we looked at the availability of government programs and assistance, and whether we were going to apply or qualify for this. What were we going to do for our staff? Like, we had to lay off probably 190 of our 210 staff members, like almost immediately. Because I think so many people just misunderstand like the fixed cost basis of the restaurant and hospitality business. And so it was a big hit for us to look some crew members in the eye, like some people that have worked for us for a decade, that have trusted us to take care of their families, and to look them in the eye and say, hey, like, I can't do it this week. Like, literally, like, the money's out. You know, like, that was the kind of decisions that we all had to make in early April. And so it was some pretty tough times. But we feel very fortunate right now to have had the opportunity to reopen in the last 3 weeks, with the governor, lifting some of his stay-at-home orders and allowing the hospitality business to come back. There's a big responsibility for us for public safety, right? We were one of the first businesses shut down for a reason, because there's a lot of people here. They've always entrusted us to take care of a lot of people. We look out for younger, older, people with all kinds of pre-existing conditions and not. And so the kind of steps that we have to take for public safety have become now more important than ever. And so we've really gone out of our way to try to modify our restaurant operations even more so than what we normally did. Our job was to serve you safely to begin with. And now we're really like going over the top. You'll see our staffs all wearing masks and gloves, and there's hand sanitizing stations everywhere, and a reduction in tables and a reduction in bar seats. And just when we got a chance to open back up, even more orders came and there was more rules. And so I feel like every week, like the small business owners have had new hurdles to jump through and new challenges to attest. And so like I just reach out to everybody out there in their community to support not just their local restaurants, but all their local businesses, because everyone's really been through a lot. And so when and if you feel comfortable out there to come out and join us again, like, please do. And if it's not our business, then even other ones as well too. It goes way, way above and beyond Union Hospitality Group here.
So, as a reminder to everybody, Grant Kruger is the owner of Union Public House, where we are standing right now doing this live Facebook interview. He is also the owner of Reforma and Proof Artisanal Pizza and Pasta. So, you're a successful entrepreneur. You see the restrictions coming down from our governor and state legislature and the advisory from the CDC and our healthcare professionals. What would you like to see out of our state legislature? You know, right now I'm actively campaigning for LD9, Legislative District 9, State House of Representatives. So as a new representative going into this seat, what would you like to see out of me and my fellow lawmakers?
Certainly, we'd like to see any sort of relief for restaurants or small businesses in general that have been particularly shut down by the COVID crisis, right? We've got issues with back taxes, we've got issues with payroll taxes. At the moment right now, liquidity is most important for us. We haven't, even over the last couple of months, quite frankly, been so concerned about what June and July were going to look like. We were just living day to day. But now that we've got back open, we've got to figure out a way to survive, perhaps with occupancy restrictions and other things that can make a business that even on a good day is marginally profitable and make it even more difficult to perform in. So I think any sort of financial incentives, deferments, layoffs, less taxes, hey, less fees, we're all about that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I've made a couple notes here of what I'd like to see happen at the state level. I see insurance assistance, require insurers to provide business interruption coverage due to limited operations that are mandated by the government related to the current health crisis. I also see a restaurant sales tax holiday. And what that is to declare a temporary sales tax holiday for restaurants, gradually increasing back to normal tax rates after 12 months. These are a couple issues that I'd like to see resolved. Any last minute things from the hospitality industry that you'd like to share or get out to the viewers to encourage them to trust in our hospitality vendors, that we are taking precautions? I mean, as you just advised, to encourage business and support local business.
So thank you again. We just like to say that restaurant food is safe food. We've always been safe. We've had to follow some of the most highly regulatory, agencies like in all the government overseeing us quite often. And so we just want to let everybody know that it's probably safer to be at your local restaurant than it might be with 500 people inside of a Costco or a Sam's Club or a Home Depot, and that 32 people in your local bistro is probably a lot safer and a lot more warmly received. We're really trying hard to make you feel safe and to make accommodations for everybody. So just please come out and visit us.
Grant Kruger, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for hosting us. And absolutely, come out to Union Public House, come out to Reforma, enjoy all of your local establishments. I know that there's many out there, Sentinel Peak Brewing, El Charro Steakhouse. There's so many great establishments here in Southern Arizona that we need to be supporting during this tough time. Thank you very much, Grant. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So our next guest that we have here, again, we are celebrating local businesses, and we've got several here. We've got a dear friend of mine, Peter Minot, and his wife, Tammy. You guys can come up. I want to ask you a couple questions. So all right, come on up here. So here we have Peter Minot with Southwest Solutions, a marketing company, a marketing-based company. How has COVID impacted your business, and what kinds of changes do you like to see down the pike?
Oh. Well, COVID, our marketing company is a lot of what we do is event-based, and of course the events portion of our business just pretty much fell apart. So as a result, we definitely cut back our crew from 11 down to 7 people. And as this gentleman said, we'd like to see people get back out there. Once people start getting back out there, this is, I gotta say, this is the first event that I've been to in 3 months. It's really nice to be at an event. It's not the biggest event I've been to in a while, but it is the only event that I've been to in the last 3 months. And this is the beginning, and I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really happy to see this. And it was nice coming here because I see that there are people out and about now. And I kind of feel like we're going to be getting out of this here slowly but surely. So it affected us. We had to send some people home. Didn't like doing that, but it's all about survival. So we just have to slowly build it back up. And anybody who's been in business for any length for a few years has been through some ups and downs. This is a pretty tough down, but when you're down like this, the only way is up, and there's no way that we're not going to all get through this. We will. This is the United States of America. We are resilient people, and we will come back, and we will come back strong. So my only message to anybody out here is be encouraged. Be encouraged by the fact that we are strong. I am not going to do the old "we're all in this together" thing, because the next person that I hear say that, I really want to put my hands around his neck, but it's safe social distancing. You can't do that. So, but we are strong, and we will get through this, and we're already feeling things coming back. Just in the last 3 weeks, the phones are actually ringing. You know, people are coming in, and people are starting to build their businesses back up, and of course that's what we do. We help businesses promote themselves, so as they build their business, our business goes with it. So I appreciate your time, and I'm looking forward I'm looking forward to seeing you up in Phoenix for when they're in session. How many months is it?
So
a year?
Yeah, so several months, depending upon when they pass the budget. So that's what it comes down to.
Okay.
So, but Peter Minot, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We've got.
This is really one of the good guys, so I'm really thrilled that you're doing this.
Thank you very much, Peter. So I made certain that we have people from all different markets out here tonight, from the restaurant, from the marketing industry, from insurance agencies, as well as law firms. We even have somebody here from the Arizona Corporation Commission currently with us, Leah Marquez Peterson. Would you like to come on up here? Warm welcome for Leah Marquez Peterson. So Leah was recently appointed by Governor Doug Ducey to serve in the Arizona Corporation Commission. Now, Leah, what concerns have you seen from your role as being part of the Corporation Commission, and how do you see us getting out of this and moving forward?
Well, thank you, Brendan. And before I even answer that, I'm going to say I live in LD9, and I'm so looking forward to when you're representing us in the state legislature. So can't wait. Our family are big supporters.
Thank you very much.
Certainly. You know, at the Arizona Corporation Commission, we regulate the utility industry. We handle business incorporation, security, so many different pieces. So when COVID-19 hit and this crisis was really looming, we knew it was coming. We had immediate emergency preparedness meetings with our utility companies. How are they going to protect the essential utility workers that needed to still continue to do their work, as well as our customers? Now, here we are, fast forward a couple months, and we see so much financial challenge. You know, layoffs and furloughs and small businesses that have been closed for several months. That's why I'm so glad to be out here tonight to support Grant at Union Public House. But we have been focused on customer relief, financial programs, utility assistance, whatever we can do to help folks throughout Arizona, both rural and urban, to really get through this difficult time.
Well, Leah, thank you very much for being here. Is there anything you see moving forward as far as policy-wise that coming out of the state legislature that you would advise of me or my future colleagues?
I actually think there are a lot of places we can collaborate. So that's why I'm so looking forward to you being there. One area that I've focused on is broadband access to vulnerable populations. Only about 25% of rural Arizona has access to high-speed internet. There's work that we can do in the commission. There's work that the state legislature has done and can do more. So I look forward to working with you on it in the future.
Sounds good. Leah Marquez Peterson for Arizona Corporation Commission. And she is running, so please visit Leah's site, give $5 donation. She is running a clean elections campaign. Leah Marquez Peterson for the Arizona Corporation Commission. Also with us tonight is actually her brother, Edmund Marquez. So let's bring Edmund on up. So Edmund, yes, he's part of the small business community, but I will say part of a mega agency here in Southern Arizona. And This individual gives back on a multitude of levels. He's part of Rio Nuevo, which is doing amazing things in our downtown area. The revitalization of downtown is absolutely incredible. Having grown up here, you know, I commend you. You and the entire team, Fletcher, Mark Irvin, I mean, the entire squad is just incredible. So, given the insurance industry, what kind of things do you see to help support local businesses get out of this? This is a tough time for everybody. What challenges have you seen as an agent? And as far as policies moving forward, what would you like to see done?
First of all, thank you for having me, and hope everybody votes for this gentleman. He's fantastic. In regards to my insurance agencies, we've been an essential business, and you heard from Grant earlier. You're obviously hearing from me now. Everyone's kind of been affected differently. With my insurance agencies, we haven't really been affected a lot, because people need their auto insurance, their home insurance, etc. It's been good. We've been very, very fortunate. I've been speaking with a lot of different business owners in town, and it really comes down to whether or not they adapt. It's a very interesting time right now. It's an interesting challenge. One of the sayings out there is life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you deal with it. And this is a defining moment for a business owner. And you know, it's funny enough, you heard from my sister earlier, and she's going to be shocked that I memorized this, but she sent me a video like a month ago from a gentleman she likes to listen to, and Jeffrey Gittimer from New York. I guess he was from New York just from his accent. And he said there's winners, there's watchers, and there's waiters. Remember that one? The winners are the businesses that are going to go through this, and they're going to be proactive, and they're going to adapt accordingly to what's happening out there and whatever's happening, whatever industry that they're in. And they're going to come out of this COVID-19, and they're going to be proactive and ahead of the curve. There's watchers. Watchers are going to come out as well, but the watchers are going to simply kind of sit around and watch and see what's happening next, and they're going to be reactive. They're going to be just a step slower than the winners. Then there's the waiters, and the waiters are the folks that are still going to be down there, dark into the cave, worried, scared, rolled up in a ball, huddled in the corner, worried about what's going to happen next, and they're most likely going to go out of business. So you have to decide whether or not the company you work for or the company that you operate, whether you're a winner, you're a watcher, or a waiter. And what I've been mostly excited to see by a lot of the local businesses are the ones that have adapted. I was lucky enough to be on a Zoom call. We're all getting so used to Zoom, my gosh. I was lucky enough to be on a Zoom call with Mark Cuban, who owns the Mavericks, and he's on Shark Tank. And he said, and I'll leave you with this, I'm sure you have another question. He said, it is naive to think that whatever your business looked like prior to COVID-19, it is naive to think that when it comes out of COVID-19, it's going to look the same. It won't. It's a whole different battlefield that you'll be playing ball in, and you have to adapt accordingly. And I hope if you're listening and you own a business, you're adapting. You're not sitting there watching or waiting, but you're literally adapting your business for today's new economy and new place to do business.
Wow. I don't know how I can cover that, but that's pretty impressive. So, Edmund, I do have a follow-up question. How do you see the insurance industry, if at all, helping out small businesses? And is there any kind of policies that the legislature can make to help this out? Because, you know, we're very pro small business. We want to shop local, all those fun things. But our business community is suffering right now, and we want to make sure that we put our men and women back to work. And so, what do you see from that perspective?
There are a lot of different adjustments on the commercial side, which I won't get into because this is Facebook, and this will bore the hell out of everybody on Facebook if I go into the commercial side. I will say something that's interesting that's coming, and I was just talking to Mitch Pisak off camera here. Effective July 1st, the state minimum requirements in the state of Arizona is changing. Forever, gosh, I got into insurance in 1996. They've been 15, 30, 10, I think, since the 70s. They're actually going to bump up to 25, 50, 25. And believe it or not, insurance companies have been against that for the longest time. They've wanted to keep the minimums low. I'm for it. Obviously, we specialize in asset protection in our agency, and I'd love to see higher limits because there's better protection out there. Tim Metcalf's here. He's an attorney. They love that. They eat that up. That's good. It's good for you. But it's good for people to have higher limits. In regards to Brendan going to the state legislature, I will say, and I'll echo what Peter was saying, he's one of the good guys. And we have to be really cognizant of who we send up north to the great state of Maricopa, because we want to make sure that we have representation and well-balanced representation, somebody that'll do good for us. And this guy is all about the greater good, and we're very lucky that you're running, because not a lot of times do you get the good guys running, and you are, so we appreciate you. So big round of applause for Brendan.
Keep that applause going for Edmund. Thank you very much for all you do in this community. So we do have another guest here, a very good friend of mine. We go cycling quite frequently. He's outstanding, and He's an incredible attorney in town. He's a partner with Farhang and Medcoff. Tim Medcoff, come on up here. The list of what this guy is doing in our community is extensive. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to forget a couple of things, but he's on the board for the Ronald McDonald House. He gives back in so many areas. He helps out. He's a huge philanthropist, and absolutely privileged that you are here. So I'm curious, how has COVID impacted you as an attorney and your clients? Is it still business as usual? And what do you see as far as any potential tort reform or any kind of business liability as businesses are opening back up again? What do you see for that?
Thank you, Brandon, for having me and for those questions. Yeah, no, business is not business as usual. I don't think it's ever going to be business as usual. It's going to be different moving forward. I've been blessed in a lot of ways because I've been really busy. I do a lot of labor and employment consulting, defense work, so I've been helping businesses, restaurants, business owners try to figure out how to survive this crisis and what steps they need to do to protect their business, how to deal with employee issues. And it's been a struggle, frankly, for employers because, as Grant said earlier, these are people that this entrusted them for 10 plus years in many cases, and they're part of their family. And so they've had to look people in the eye and say, look, I have to let you go. I don't want to, but I have to because I just don't have the money to pay you. So the PPP money has been really, really helpful for a lot of business owners. The fact that Congress has now passed that and extended the time period is going to be a huge help for business owners. Hopefully President Trump signs that soon, which will then extend the PPP period from 8 to 24 months or 24 weeks, and also and change the payroll to non-payroll cost expense, which will help retailers that have higher rent costs as opposed to payroll costs. So that's obviously huge help. The unemployment benefits that the CARES Act provided has also been a huge help for regular employees in terms of giving them some additional income to help bridge the gap until we all survive this crisis. From a tort reform sort of standpoint, one of the things that Congress has been talking about and kicking around is some sort of immunity for businesses that may have problems or claims as a result of COVID-19. Many businesses are going to be protected as it relates to employee claims related to workers' comp because almost all employees are subject to workers' comp and haven't opted out of workers' comp. But the unknown question is what happens if you take the virus home, you get your loved ones sick, and somebody has to go to the hospital or, God forbid, pass away. What happens with that claim? And honestly, I'm hoping that Congress works to provide some sort of immunity or looks at some sort of remedy in that situation for those individuals that are facing that situation, because it may convince business owners not to open in the middle of the crisis if they're potentially in fear of facing a lawsuit because of somebody taking the virus home.
Wow, that's thank you very much for that feedback. Is it from our state? That's from a congressional standpoint. Is there anything that you see that our state legislators can do as it pertains to tort reform and those liabilities?
So similar issues, as Grant and others mentioned earlier, trying to work to create some liquidity for business owners, which isn't really tort reform, but it's really needed for business owners at this point. So you as a legislator, if you're elected, which I hope you are, and I will be supporting you in that effort, that would be great start to help from a liquidity standpoint. But then from a tort reform kind of liability standpoint, again, thinking long and hard about what's the fair middle ground. Obviously, if somebody gets sick and they have damages, especially if they don't have health insurance, for instance, like who's going to cover that? Obviously, if the legislature can pass some emergency funds, that would we can take advantage of the $1 billion rainy day fund that Governor Ducey has created for us to potentially carve some of that out to help individuals that are going through some of those medical expenses that they may have coverage for, or looking at providing some sort of relief to business owners for those ancillary sort of claims that might come about that aren't covered by workers' comp.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your feedback, and thank you for everything that you do for this community, because you are an incredible pillar of this community for all that you do, and we thank you very much. Tim Medcoff, thank you. So I've been asked multiple times, how do I feel about Governor Doug Ducey, the way he has responded to this? And, you know, I'll go ahead and share my feedback. I know many out there have been extremely critical of his response, maybe government overreach or different things. Well, I see it out of a different view. So many of you know that I'm a former firefighter, and I'm going to share this perspective with you, and it might resonate. It's very rudimentary and very simple, but imagine this. We're dispatched to a structure fire. We're the closest responding unit. It's about 5 miles away. We pull out of the apparatus bay and we see smoke billowing. We don't know what we've got. So what are we going to do immediately? We're going to get on the radio and we're going to call for additional resources. So as it pertains to COVID, Governor Doug Ducey, we don't know, he doesn't know what's happening. As far as, this isn't confined to a geographic location. This is a major pandemic that is happening all over the world. And so with the limited information that he has, he's taking precautions and measures in place. So there are 3 fireground priorities when we respond to a structure fire. The very first one is life safety. And there's a risk-benefit or a cost-benefit analysis that we're going to risk a lot to save a lot. We're going to risk little to save a little, and we're going to risk nothing to save no viable life or property. The second incident priority is incident stabilization. We're going to make sure that stabilize this incident before we go to the next, which is property conservation. And as this relates to COVID, we're going to risk a lot to save a lot as far as life safety goes. Once we stabilize this incident, then we're going to go, and what that relates to is we're going to make sure that hospitals can take in the patients necessary, and we've got the necessary personal protective equipment in place. Then we're going to look at the business community and make sure that we can get this economy rolling again. So that is my perspective from a former firefighter, and I believe that, you know, it's a rudimentary level, but I full-heartedly support the measures that Governor Doug Ducey has done. So I believe we have a couple other questions for myself, and before we get going.
So someone has asked, Brendan, how has COVID affected you in your day-to-day life trying to run for office?
So somebody has asked, how has COVID impacted my day-to-day in running for office? Well, I'm sure, as Leah Marquez Peterson can also attest, it's been very difficult. It's been very difficult getting out there, meeting people, and hearing your concerns. So please, I have a very transparent, I'll answer the call, as long as you don't call me while you're driving. My phone number is 520-305-9874. Call or text me anytime, well, once again, except when you're driving. But COVID...
Would you please explain to people why that's so...
So for those who don't know, I was asked to share why this is so poignant. And that is because I have spent the last 6 years of my life dedicated to mitigating distracted driving on our public roads. And early on, when our state failed to act, I worked with local jurisdictions helping Pima County, the city of Tucson, Oro Valley, and 15 other jurisdictions in adopting a hands-free ordinance. Well, finally, in 2019, our state legislature and Governor Doug Ducey signed Arizona's hands-free distracted driving bill. And with 6 years of effort going into this, that empowered me to leverage my voice to serve for Southern Arizona. And I got to tell you that this race is so much bigger than myself. There's a lot that's at stake. And our Arizona's economy has not been so strong without the supporting local business and with our engaging business community. So I like to see more of what we currently have, because we wouldn't have that rainy day fund if it was not for our pro-business legislators up in the state legislature. And that's why I'm here today, celebrating local business and reopening of restaurants. So thank you very much. I believe we may have another question.
Someone would like to know what your top 3 priorities will be when you get elected.
So I was just asked, what are my top 3 priorities when I get elected? Well, my top 3 priorities right now are very simple. Education. I believe that education makes a great economic impact to our region. It's a great investment for our children who are going to be our leaders of tomorrow. Second, public safety. I'm a firefighter. I am very deeply hearted and rooted in public safety, supporting our first responders and our police and fire EMTs, as well as our frontline healthcare professionals. I want to do more to protect those who protect us. And lastly, I want to support our business community, getting people back into their jobs and growing our economy. I support the public and private partnerships that contribute to our economy. I believe we have another question. Maybe.
Do not have another question.
It appears
You're
that
actually out of time.
it appears that is our last question, and we are out of time. Thank you for those of you who are joining in, and please remember to visit my website, Lyons4AZ, Lyons, the number 4, az.com. And really, I want to take a moment to thank each and every one of you guys for showing up. Let's give you guys a round of applause. So. And I'll leave you with this. We are here today, once again, celebrating the reopening of local businesses and our restaurants. Please go out. I urge you, go out and support those local establishments, because, you know, that meal here and there contributes to many other families. So thank you very much for supporting this, and I wish you all a very good night. Thank you.